If you are a man over 60 and you believe waking up 3 or 4 times every night to pee is just a normal part of aging, let me tell you something important. That belief is wrong. It is not normal, and it is not harmless. The truth is, there is one daily habit, something so common, you probably don't even think about it, that quietly inflames your prostate. It steals your sleep, it drains your energy, and it slowly chips away at your quality of life. I am Dr. James Carter, a men's health physician with over 3 decades of experience helping men reclaim their strength and vitality. I have seen thousands of patients in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who thought nothing could change. Yet when they discovered this hidden truth, everything began to shift. Before we dive in, I want to know where you're watching from today. Type your city or country in the comments. And while you are here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss the health advice that could change your life after 60. Now let's uncover the first hidden habit that so many men mistake as helpful, but in reality it makes things worse. Many men in their 60s and 70s proudly tell me they have solved their nightly bathroom trips by cutting back on water in the evening. At first it sounds logical. Less water should mean less urine, fewer trips to the bathroom. But here is the hidden truth. That habit can actually make things worse. When you drink too little water, especially later in the day, your urine becomes darker and more concentrated. It turns acidic. It irritates the bladder. That irritation creates pressure, and that pressure pushes against your already sensitive prostate. Instead of sleeping better, you may end up waking even more often. I have seen men wake at 1 a.m., then 3 a.m., then 5 a.m., rushing to the bathroom only to pass a few drops. They feel frustrated, exhausted. Some even tell me they just want one full night of sleep again. I understand completely, but depriving your body of water is not the answer. Dehydration is one of the most overlooked triggers of prostate inflammation. Without enough water, your body cannot flush out toxins. Healing slows. Tissues swell. The result is more discomfort, not less. So what can you do? The answer is simple. Hydrate evenly throughout the day. Sip water regularly, not just when you feel thirsty. Aim for urine that is light and clear. Then taper off about 90 minutes before bedtime. But do not cut water completely. Water is not the enemy, it is your greatest ally. If you agree that this habit surprised you, type the number 1 in the comments. If you still believe drinking less water at night helps, type 0. I would love to hear what you think. Now, if cutting water can backfire, what about another hidden danger, sitting for long hours without moving? Let's talk about that next. One of the most silent habits that harms the prostate is sitting too long without moving. Many men enjoy their favorite chair, the television, or the newspaper for hours. It feels like well-earned rest, but the body pays a hidden price. When you sit for long stretches, you place constant pressure on the pelvic region. That pressure slows blood flow to the prostate, and when blood flow slows, inflammation begins to build. The tissues swell, waste products linger, healing becomes harder. What starts as small changes an extra trip to the bathroom. A weaker stream can slowly grow into nightly frustration. I remember a patient named Robert, a retired teacher. He spent most of his day sitting at the kitchen table reading and doing puzzles. He thought he was simply enjoying his retirement, but his nights were restless. His bathroom trips increased. He felt something was wrong, though he could not explain it. When I asked him to stand up every 30 minutes, stretch, and take a few steps, he was doubtful. Yet within 2 weeks, his sleep improved. After a month, he told me he felt lighter, more energized, more in control. Small movements had restored his balance. You do not need a gym. You do not need heavy exercise. Just stand, move, breathe, look out the window. Every half hour, give your body a signal that it is alive. These micro movements protect your circulation. They protect your prostate. If this advice speaks to you, type the word "move" in the comments. I want to know who is ready to take this simple step today. And while sitting can create silent damage, there is another habit many men overlook every morning. Something as innocent as your daily coffee could be irritating your prostate more than you realize. Let's look at that next. For many men, that first cup of coffee in the morning feels sacred. The smell, the warmth, the comfort. After retirement, mornings often become slower, and coffee becomes a daily ritual. But too much caffeine can quietly make your prostate problems worse. Caffeine is a stimulant. It does not only wake your mind, it wakes your bladder and your urinary system. It increases urine production. It makes the bladder contract more often. For a younger man, this may be a small inconvenience, but for men over 60 whose prostate may already be slightly enlarged, the effect is much stronger. You may notice frequent urges to urinate. You may feel like the bladder never empties fully. That lingering pressure or sudden urgency may all be connected to caffeine. I recall a patient named Edward. He drank coffee in the morning, iced tea in the afternoon, and sometimes cola in the evening. He never thought twice about it. But when he reduced his caffeine, switched to herbal tea after breakfast, and gave up soda, the results surprised him. Within 10 days, his sleep improved. His stream felt stronger. His confidence returned. The good news is you do not need to give up caffeine entirely. That one morning cup can still be yours, but moderation matters. Limit your intake. Choose decaf or herbal alternatives later in the day. Your bladder and your prostate will thank you. If you agree that small changes can bring big relief, type the word yes in the comments. I want to see how many of you are ready to make this adjustment. Now, if caffeine can irritate the prostate, what about the foods we eat every day? Processed and spicy meals may be doing even more harm than you realize. Let's explore that next. Food is not just fuel. Food is information. Every bite you take sends a message to your body. And for many men, the message from processed and spicy foods is the wrong one. Processed meats like bacon, sausages, and deli cuts are filled with chemicals, preservatives, and unhealthy fats. These ingredients trigger inflammation throughout the body. When your prostate is already sensitive, that inflammation is like pouring gasoline on a fire. Spicy foods can add to the problem. Hot peppers, chili powders, and sauces irritate the bladder and pelvic nerves. They create a false sense of urgency, making you feel like you need to go even when your bladder is not full. The result is more trips to the bathroom, less control, and more frustration. I once treated a man named William. He was 68. His meals often included bacon at breakfast, deli sandwiches for lunch, and chili for dinner. He tried to cut back on soda and walked more, but his symptoms stayed. When he shifted his diet to grilled chicken, leafy greens, fresh berries, and a handful of nuts, the change was remarkable. He told me, "I feel clearer, stronger, more myself again." This is the power of food. It can fuel inflammation or calm it. It can weaken your hormones or restore balance. You do not need perfection. Start small. Add one healing food each day. Cook more at home. Over time, your prostate will respond and your nights will become more peaceful. If you believe that food truly shapes health, type the word food in the comments. I want to know how many of you are ready to take control of your plate. Now, while diet plays a major role, another habit is often ignored. Holding your urine too long may seem harmless, but it can slowly damage your bladder and prostate. Let's uncover that next. Many men brush off the habit of holding their urine. They say, "I was stuck in traffic," or "I didn't want to miss the game." It seems harmless, but over time, this small habit can do real damage to your bladder and your prostate. Every time you resist the urge to go, your bladder stretches beyond its comfort zone. Imagine blowing up a balloon a little too much over and over. That constant stretching creates downward pressure on the prostate, and your prostate, especially after 60, cannot handle that repeated strain. The result is swelling, irritation, and eventually a weaker urine stream. Some men feel like they never fully empty their bladder. Others notice they need to go more often than before. Holding urine also leaves behind small amounts of liquid. That stagnant urine becomes a breeding ground for bacteria, leading to infections that inflame the prostate even more. I remember a patient named Thomas, a retired firefighter. For years on long shifts, he trained himself to ignore the urge. It felt like discipline. But by age 67, he was waking up 5 times a night, exhausted and frustrated. When he understood the connection, he told me, "I wish someone had told me sooner." So here is the simple truth. When your body says, "Go, listen," don't hold it, don't wait. Your bladder and your prostate work as a team. When one suffers, the other suffers too. Listening to your body is not weakness, it is wisdom. If this message resonates with you, type the word "go" in the comments. It is a simple reminder to honor your body's signals. Now, while ignoring the urge to urinate is harmful, there is another habit even more destructive. Smoking or even being around smoke can quietly attack your prostate every single day. Let's talk about that next. Smoking is one of the most damaging habits for your health, and your prostate is no exception. Even if you do not smoke yourself, just being around secondhand smoke can cause real harm. Each cigarette releases thousands of chemicals. They restrict blood flow, they lower oxygen, they trigger chronic inflammation. Over time, these toxins interfere with your prostate's ability to heal and regenerate. The blood vessels that feed the gland begin to narrow. The tissues stiffen. Immune cells rush in not to repair, but to contain the constant assault. The result is long-lasting irritation and swelling. I remember a patient named Walter, a 72-year-old retired construction worker. He had quit smoking 10 years earlier, yet his prostate symptoms continued. When I asked about his lifestyle, he admitted that every Friday night he played poker with friends who all smoked heavily. He didn't realize that secondhand smoke was keeping his body in a constant state of inflammation. Once he stopped attending those smoky gatherings and invited his friends to his home, instead the difference was clear. Within weeks, his nighttime urgency eased. He slept better. His energy returned. He told me it felt like someone had lowered the volume on his discomfort. This is the power of removing toxins. Quitting smoking is one of the greatest gifts you can give your prostate, your heart, and your future. And if you have already quit, be proud, but remain alert. Protect yourself from secondhand smoke whenever possible. If you believe staying smoke-free is worth the effort, type the word "fresh" in the comments. Let's remind each other that clean air is healing air. Now, while smoke exposure is dangerous, another silent risk comes from neglect. Skipping your yearly prostate checkups may feel harmless, but it can cost you far more than you imagine. Let's look at that next. Many men avoid yearly prostate checkups. They wait until symptoms are too strong to ignore. Some feel embarrassed. Others are simply afraid of what they might find. But skipping these visits is one of the most dangerous habits of all. The prostate is a quiet organ. It rarely shouts when something is wrong. Instead, it whispers. A slightly weaker stream, an extra trip to the bathroom, a restless night. By the time the signs are obvious, the problem may already be advanced. I once met a man named Henry, 66 years old. He was well-dressed, polite, but clearly uncomfortable. He had lived with frequent urination and a dull ache in his lower abdomen for over a year. Yet this was his first time seeing a specialist. When I asked why he waited so long, he shrugged and said, "I didn't want to know." We ran simple tests, a PSA blood test, and a physical exam. Thankfully, his condition was caught early. With mild medication and lifestyle changes, his symptoms improved within months. But he looked at me and said, "I wish I hadn't waited. I could have saved myself a year of worry." Think about your car. You don't wait until it breaks down to change the oil. You maintain it to prevent bigger problems. Your body deserves the same care. A yearly exam is not about fear. It is about protection, about staying ahead, not falling behind. If you agree it's time to prioritize your health, type the word "check" in the comments. Your future self will thank you. Now, while regular exams are vital, what you put on your plate every day may be just as important. Too much red and processed meat can quietly fuel inflammation and make your prostate problems worse. Let's talk about that next. For many men, a hearty steak or a plate of bacon feels like tradition. It is culture, it is comfort. But too much red and processed meat can quietly harm your prostate more than you realize. These foods are packed with saturated fats, preservatives, and chemicals. Over time, they fuel low-grade inflammation throughout the body. When your prostate is already sensitive, that inflammation is like adding fuel to a fire. The swelling increases. Hormones become imbalanced. Symptoms grow worse. I remember a man named Joseph, 70 years old, a retired Navy veteran. He proudly told me he was a steak man. Nothing he said beat a thick cut of red meat. But for months he struggled with weak flow, interrupted sleep, and pelvic discomfort. When I asked him to cut back at first, he resisted. Yet he agreed to try leaner proteins, grilled chicken, fish, beans, and lentils. Within weeks, the difference was striking. He told me I didn't realize how heavy I'd been feeling until I stopped. My stomach is calmer, I'm sleeping better, and I don't miss the meat as much as I thought. Science supports this. Diets high in red and processed meat have been linked to greater prostate risks, even cancer. But balance is the answer. You don't have to give it up completely. Enjoy it once or twice a week. Fill the rest of your plate with foods that fight inflammation, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts. If you believe your plate can shape your future, type the word balance in the comments. It's a simple reminder that every meal is a choice toward health. Now, while food plays a big role, there's another force working against your prostate that isn't in your kitchen. It's sitting around your waistline. Belly fat and obesity may be doing more harm than you think. Let's explore that next. Excess belly fat may look like just a cosmetic issue, but in reality, it is one of the most damaging forces working against your prostate. Belly fat is not silent, it is active tissue. It sends powerful hormonal and inflammatory signals throughout the body. Around the waistline, this fat converts valuable testosterone into estrogen. That shift encourages prostate tissue to grow. The result is more pressure, weaker flow, and more frequent trips to the bathroom. I remember a man named Leonard, 64 years old. He had a good sense of humor, even when his symptoms bothered him. He laughed and said, "Doc, how much harm can a belly really do?" I looked him in the eye and told him, "More than you think, Leonard, especially to your prostate." The truth is, belly fat does not stop at hormones. It also fuels inflammation, strains the heart, and makes it harder to regulate blood sugar and circulation. All of this adds stress to the prostate and to your vitality. But here's the good news. You don't need to lose 30 or 40 pounds to see results. Studies show that even a modest 5% reduction in body weight can ease prostate symptoms. For Leonard, it began with simple steps: a short morning walk, replacing sugary drinks with water, adding vegetables to dinner. Within weeks, he noticed real improvement. He told me, "It feels like I'm getting a piece of myself back." Your waistline tells a story. When you take steps to reclaim it, you do far more than shrink inches. You restore balance, energy, and confidence. If you agree that small steps can create big changes, type the word lighter in the comments. Let's remind each other that progress matters more than perfection. Now, there's still one more hidden force we need to uncover. It isn't what you eat or drink. It's something you live with every day: chronic stress, and it may be the most powerful driver of prostate problems of them all. Let's talk about that next. Of all the habits we've discussed, chronic stress may be the most overlooked and the most powerful. Stress does not just live in your mind, it lives in your body, and your prostate feels it. When you are under constant pressure, your body produces too much cortisol, the stress hormone. Cortisol fuels inflammation. It tightens pelvic muscles. It lowers testosterone. It makes your body more sensitive to pain and pressure. Over time, this creates the perfect storm for prostate problems to grow worse. I remember a man named Richard. He was polite, well-dressed, calm on the outside. But inside, he carried decades of worry about his family, his finances, his purpose after retirement. He said, "I'm not the kind of man who talks about stress. I just keep moving." But his nights were restless. His energy was gone. His symptoms were getting worse. When we began simple practices, 10 minutes of breathing, a short walk at sunrise, writing thoughts in a journal, calling an old friend, everything started to change. Within weeks, his urgency eased. He slept deeper. He felt more himself. And he told me I didn't realize how much I was holding in until I let it go. Managing stress is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is leadership over your own health. When you learn to calm your mind, your prostate, your sleep, and your energy all begin to recover. If you agree that peace of mind is just as important as medicine, type the word calm in the comments. Let's remind each other that healing begins inside. Now that we've uncovered all 10 hidden habits, it's time to bring everything together. In the closing moments, I want to share a powerful reminder and a simple nightly ritual that has helped so many men reclaim their nights. Let's wrap this up. You are not broken. You are not weak. What you face is not the result of age alone. It is the result of habits that have quietly built up over time. And the good news is, these habits can change. We have walked through the 10 most common daily behaviors that slowly inflame the prostate: drinking too little water, Sitting too long, too much caffeine, processed and spicy foods, holding urine, smoke exposure, skipping checkups, eating too much red meat, belly fat, and chronic stress. Each habit may seem small on its own, but together they create the perfect storm. Night after night of lost sleep, day after day of discomfort, a steady loss of control. Yet awareness gives you power. One step at a time, you can reclaim your health. I want you to remember this: your body's listening. And when you choose balanced movement, hydration, nourishment, and peace, your body responds. You are never too old. It is never too late. There is also a simple nightly ritual that takes just 15 seconds. It calms the nervous system. It reduces pressure on the bladder and prostate. Men who do this often wake up less, sleep deeper, and feel stronger. It is proof that small steps bring real change. If this video has helped you, please subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend, a brother, or someone you care about, and drop a comment below to tell me which habit spoke to you the most. Your voice matters. Thank you for being here. And remember, you have the power to write a healthier chapter starting tonight.